So I've been thinking about training a lot since we're on this theme, but just in general, I've been thinking about it a lot, trying to figure out how do I teach people the stuff that's going on up here all the time. I hate saying or acknowledging that I'm a control freak or a micromanager, but there's probably people that would describe me as that. Although I don't like that, and I don't aspire to be that. The one thing that I am and that I'll own is I'm a perfectionist, absolutely. I want everything to be perfect. And I think that's the reason why I have a hard time giving up tasks or training people to do tasks, because there's no way they're ever gonna do it as perfect as me. Probably, right? At least in the beginning. You know, there's the learning and training period where people are going to make mistakes because that's how you learn. It's how I learned. It's been long ago in my process, so I kind of forget about that. But if everything's always perfect and happens exactly the right way, you never actually really learn the details of it. So the reason why I think I have a hard time taking a new topic and saying, okay, I'm going to teach someone how to do this is because immediately when I start thinking down that path, I know that it's not going to be as good, or there's going to be a lot of mistakes for a while. Wrongdoings bother me so much because I'm a perfectionist to a fault, right? So the one thing that I just kind of realized and clicked is that for myself, and this may help other people, if you're training somebody on something new and explaining it to them and they're understanding it, and they are trying to do it the way you showed them, and you can see that by the notes that they make or things that they say, or literally straight observing them doing something and they're doing it the way you would do it. But in the interim, that end result is still wrong, still not perfect. But they're doing all the things that you asked them to do. They're following the process that you set in place. They're just diverting, not really changing the process, but there's just minute mistakes along the way because of a lack of experience and knowledge. Then that's perfect. And so if people are doing that, still coming up with the end result is not perfect or not quite right, I've always really focused on that end result and be like, hey, this is wrong again. You know, remember, do it like this, this, this. What I am failing to see is they are doing it 1, 2, 3, 4. But there's some discrepancy in the process and some ways where you could maybe do something just a slightly bit different that I'm not thinking about. And that's how they deviate and get maybe a wrong answer or just something that's not perfect the way I want it to be. So the unlock is realizing that if someone is actually on board and trying and actually wanting to follow the process and wanting to do it right, if the end result is just not quite right, but you see indications that they're like most of the way there, I have to try really hard to not be frustrated with that it's 90% of the way and it's not 100%, meaning it's not perfect. And I need to look at that as like, this is a really good thing, and use it as a way to continue to train further and say, okay, here's the things that still aren't quite right. And I think the reason why they're not quite right is because I didn't clarify this particular caveat or this particular special case in the process. So let's adjust the process a little bit to make a note so next time you know how to handle this case and get a good end result, get that perfect end result. That helps me because it helps me change my mindset and allows me to feel more confident in passing a task off to somebody because I'm focusing on, hey, if their heart and mind are in a good place, that they actually are trying to do it the way you asked them to do it, and they're still getting something that's not quite right, that's okay. That's realistic. That's life. If they're getting the wrong answer and just totally blatantly not following the process or instructions you laid out, then that's a problem. But I usually mentally, internally, if I see the wrong answer or see that it's not perfect, I get let down, I get frustrated. I'm like, man, I should just do this myself, because I give up so fast instead of trying to recognize like, okay, they didn't get it right, but are they doing all the things the right way? I guess what I'm saying is, if all you do is look at the end result and judge that it's not perfect or the way it should be, if somebody that was really experienced, that's done this for years, would get, and now this new person, it's wrong. If you just judge specifically on that and then just say like, well, this person doesn't know how to do this, that's not the right way to do it. And that's how I, in my mind, think about it. I don't usually project that outward, but in my mind, that's how I think about it. And I am trying, and I realized recently, and I'm going to try to say, okay, this isn't quite right. Let's use that as a learning experience. But let's take a step back and try to make sure that as long as they're following the process, as long as they're trying to do it the right way, and as time goes on and I give them tips and hints, they're noting those down, or they're making mental notes, or just in conversation with them, you can tell that that stuff has landed because they're kind of parroting it back to you. Then it's like, okay, this is good actually. They're on a really good path. They want to do this right. They're following the process the way they should. It's just my job as the trainer to clarify a few more things, and then we are going to get that good, perfect, whatever the end result is.